Sigma males are known for their non-conformist, lone wolf personality. They are independent, liberated, self-sufficient free spirits who are capable of bringing value to their own lives without needing external validation from others, choosing to live life outside of the social hierarchy, despite being in a position of power at the top of it. Even with all these impressive qualities, the Sigma is still human and isn't exempt from weird, odd, and sometimes downright crazy behaviours. Make sure you watch until the end because in this video we're going to be looking at 8 of the craziest things that the Sigma male does. So let's get into it. At number 8, he yells at video games. It's no secret that guys love playing video games in their spare time, and the Sigma male is no different. It's a way that many people like to unwind and de-stress after a long day. While this isn't crazy in itself, the crazy thing that he does when he's playing, and making him sound absolutely insane to anyone who happens to be walking past his room while he's in the middle of a Call of Duty session, is that he screams and yells at the screen. He might be different to other men in many ways, but the Sigma male still has an ego. And when a game isn't going to plan, his ego will tell him that his teammates are at fault for the impending loss. Or if he's playing solo, his ego will blame him. So he will need to let off steam, which he does by shouting. He doesn't yell because he's actually angry, but because his ego is stepping in as a defense mechanism. It's trying to protect him from emotional pain, so will try to redirect his negative feelings towards other players wherever possible. Yelling can also have a soothing effect on the Sigma male when he's feeling frustrated within the game. It's a bit like his version of scream therapy. He might sound crazy, but really, he's just having a good time. Number 7. He sometimes hides his emotions. Men hiding their feelings isn't a new phenomenon by any stretch, but it certainly is kind of a crazy thing that they do. Especially when they can be a little hypocritical when it comes to showing vulnerability. While a Sigma appreciates maturity and those who show their feelings, it doesn't mean he necessarily plays by the same rules. The Sigma is likely to have experienced pain, trauma, or loss in his life, perhaps from an early age, which makes it difficult for him to be vulnerable and to show his emotions easily. We know that the Sigma lives outside of the social hierarchy and doesn't care for social customs and expectations, but that doesn't mean he hasn't been affected by them. Society teaches boys that they shouldn't show their emotions, that it makes them weak or less of a man, and although he is more likely to show his emotions due to his disregard for what society dictates is correct male behavior, he still finds himself at times hiding his emotions, especially in front of people he doesn't know very well. Number 6. He sends short texts. Now this is something that drives women crazy especially, but one of the weird things that a Sigma male does is send infuriatingly short messages. Sigma males don't care at all for social media, so you can pretty much forget receiving DMs on Instagram. But even when it comes to a simple text message, he will be annoyingly curt and blunt. This isn't anything that the person on the receiving end should take personally though. The Sigma male simply doesn't have time or energy for communicating at length through text, and if he needs to talk to someone, he will do it in person or make a phone call. He is a solitary creature and highly values his alone time, so if he's been bothered by someone enough that he feels he absolutely has to respond to their message, then he will do so, but very bluntly. Number 5. He wears bad clothes. It may seem crazy to some, but to the Sigma male, wearing fashionable clothes or even clothes that aren't completely intact is not something he finds important. He doesn't follow the latest trends. He isn't going to be the first in line to buy the latest pair of trainers that everybody wants. And you'd better believe if a hole in the crotch of his comfiest pair of sweatpants has suddenly appeared, he won't throw them away or get them repaired. He'll just keep wearing them all the same. However, when it comes to work and business, he wouldn't want to ruin his reputation or chances of success by dressing badly. He does have some standards, but for anything outside of business, he just doesn't care at all. His only priority is his comfort and his personal happiness. Does he care about other people's opinions of his fashion sense? Does he care if they judge him, thinking he's looked like he's just crawled out of a skip? Of course not. He's a Sigma male. Number 4. He works on his marksmanship. One of the less sophisticated and, quite frankly, gross things that a Sigma male does is that he works on his marksmanship. And we aren't talking about hunting, we're talking about peeing. One of the great things about a Sigma male is how rare, unique, and different he is to other men. But there are still some things that he does that most men do, unfortunately. And one of these is developing his marksmanship when he goes to the bathroom. He isn't typically a competitive kind of guy, except with sports or video games. But when he comes to competing against himself and seeing how far back he can stand from the toilet while successfully aiming into the bowl, then he suddenly becomes fiercely competitive, much to the chagrin of any females living in the same house, who can only hope that if he loses, then he has the consideration of cleaning up. Number 3. He abides by the 5-second rule. Have you ever heard of the 5-second rule? Chances are you probably have. One of the wonderfully weird and crazy things that the Sigma male does in times of disaster is that he is a strong believer in the 5-second rule. As an example, imagine that he's eating his lunch and is suddenly startled by something or someone which makes him drop his delicious sandwich on the floor. What do you think will happen? Any normal person would assume he puts it in the bin. But this is the Sigma male we're talking about. Of course he doesn't throw it away. As long as it's been on the ground for less than 5 seconds, of course. That is the defined time window where he considers it safe to pick up food or cutlery after it's been on the floor without it being contaminated by bacteria or dirt. Because this food hygiene myth makes total sense to a Sigma male, and dare we say, males in general. Number 2. He gets naked when he can get away with it. Being naked at certain times of the day isn't the craziest idea, but the Sigma male is a rare breed of man and will get naked at any point that he deems it safe to do so. When he has the house to himself, he loves nothing more than to wander around in his birthday suit, doing all the normal things one would do in the house, like cleaning, washing clothes, vacuuming, and dusting. If he can do it stark naked, then he will. Although he has to be careful with cooking. After all, bare skin, hot oil sounds like a recipe for disaster. The Sigma is all about freedom and being true to himself, so it's no wonder that he enjoys being naked so much. But what if he gets caught in the nude by a poor unsuspecting neighbor who happens to walk past his window at the wrong moment? Or what if his housemate comes home early from a work trip? While the Sigma wouldn't want to make anyone feel uncomfortable intentionally, he also couldn't care less about other people's opinions of him unless it stops him from achieving what he wants in life. That's their problem. Before we reach number 1 on our list of crazy things that Sigma males do, we just want to remind you to drop a like if you're enjoying the video. That way you can help support our channel and we know what kind of content you want to see more of in the future. Now on to number 1. He has a good cry to de-stress. Yes, he can hide his emotions at times, preferring to hide his vulnerability from people he doesn't know that well. But the Sigma is a sensitive guy who's in touch with his own feelings, even if he doesn't always show them. He knows that it's okay to cry and that sometimes it's necessary to deal with the stresses of life. And while it isn't crazy for a man to cry, for some men such as the alpha male, it can seem like a very strange thing. Especially when you consider how similar the Sigma male is to the alpha. To other people, the Sigma male comes across as a pillar of strength, who most of the time acts pretty aloof and mysterious. So people can be very surprised to learn that the Sigma male is so in touch with his sensitive side. He will happily let himself have a good cry when he needs to in order to let out feelings and tension. He knows that this is much healthier than leaving things bottled up and ready to explode in an uncontrollable and potentially harmful way. However, just like the rest of us, he still finds it more preferable to do this alone in the privacy of his own home instead of at something like a social gathering. He is still human and a man after all, so wants to live with his pride intact as much as possible. But due to his flagrant disregard for people's judgment of him, if he does happen to break down in public, then as far as he's concerned, it is what it is, and he wouldn't give it a second thought. When all is said and done, the only opinion that really matters is his own, and he is a man who really lives by his beliefs. So there we have it, 8 crazy things that a Sigma male does. If you've enjoyed this video and want to see more content like this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so you can keep up to date with our latest uploads.